Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here is your host, Diego Lopez, and today in Let's Learn Psychology, we have two special guests, Miss Angie Pilco and Miss Elizabeth Meneses.
Good evening. I hope to answer all your questions.
Hello, I am ready to start the interview, Diego.
Well, there are several learning theories, and each one is very interesting. So, what is the concept of your respective theories?
As we know, one of the great representatives of the behaviorist theory was Watson, besides being unanimously recognized as its founder, who, by basing psychology on behavior and these on elementary responses, was central to explain how human beings learn, which means how they develop certain behaviors from elementary responses. The key element to explain the formation of behavior will be conditioning, taken from Pavlov, but it should be noted that this learning is automatic and deterministic. For this reason, Watson went so far as to state in a phrase that became famous: give us a dozen healthy, well-trained children and a suitable world to raise them in, and we guarantee that we will turn any one of them, taken at random, into a certain specialist: doctor, lawyer, artist, businessman, beggar, or thief, whatever the talents, inclinations, tendencies, capacities, vocations, and race of their ancestors.
Interesting what my college mentioned, but I have difference since my work approach is influenced by the theory of psychosocial development proposed by Erikson in the 50s, which proposes 8 sequential stages of the psychosocial development of the human, being influenced by biological, psychological, and social factors. In addition, each stage is determined by a conflict that the individual faces, and that by overcoming them allows the psychological growth of the person.
That's interesting. Let's move to the next question. All theories need a basis. What are the bases of these theories?
Watson's behaviorist theory focused on their external and outward behaviors. He believed that a person's physical responses provide the only insight into internal actions. In synthesis, he was based on natural sciences, and his studies in collaboration with Morgan on the basic emotions of the human being were especially famous. His experiments with children led him to the conclusion that there were three basic emotions: fear, anger, and love. All the others were generated by conditioning, as were all other complex behaviors, and the person transferred part of these basic emotions to the more sophisticated ones.
Well, the foundation of Erikson theory are based on the epigenetic principle. This principle suggests that people grow in a sequence that occurs over time and in the context of a large community. The A psychological stage begin the following is the next. One is a trust versus mistrust. The second is autonomy versus shame or dope. Number 3 is initiative versus guilt. Number 4 is industry versus inferiority. Number 5 is identity versus confusion. Number 6 is intimacy versus isolation. Number 7 is generative versus stagnation. And finally, number 8 is integrity versus despair.
Let's move to the last question. The influence of each theory is evident. What are the contributions of the theories you support?
Watson's influence on psychology has been enormous because he generated a current that led to a paradigm shift and a change in the object of study of psychology. Psychology definitely abandoned introspection and temporarily consciousness to move towards a scientific psychology of a practical type, interested in the prediction and control of behavior, and in the establishment of scientific laws similar to those of other sciences. In addition to the results of the experiment with Little Albert experiment.
I believe that the main influence of the theory of psychological development is that it allows us to understand how the child or child's access to good education, this, employment and social opportunities is relevant to the future development that he may have these children's since this experience make it easier for the child to develop their motor, socio-emotional and intellectual skills normally.
Thank you very much, both of you. Unfortunately, our time is up for today.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be interviewed.
Thank you for taking the time to interview. Um, see you the other time, Angie and Diego.
We conclude our interview. We hope you like it. Good evening and let's learn psychology.